Breaking news this morning as we're going to pivot to wrestling. Penn State wrestling picked up, Greg, the number 1 recruit in the country this morning. Is that correct?
Yeah, it depends which service you look at. Number 3, I believe, on Matt Scout's number 1 on Intermat. It's kind of all the same, right? There's 3 guys at the top of the class of 2025. One of them is already committed to Penn State, longtime Penn State commit, PJ Duke. The other one of the 3 is Marcus Blaze, Perrysburg, Ohio, 3-time state champ in Ohio. Was a runner-up at Senior Worlds as a 17-year-old, U17 international champ, U20 bronze medalist, has almost accomplished everything possible at the high school level. Not quite, but close. He commits to Penn State on Wednesday morning over Ohio State and Purdue. Penn State hosted him during the weekend. The football team played Illinois, I believe it was, at the end of September. And obviously they impressed. And his recruitment has been very quiet. There's been not much in the way of updates. In fact, the only interview I could find, T. Frank, was one he did with Flo in like early May, when he cut his list to 6. And it was not a very long conversation about his recruitment. Like, he gave the 6, and that was kind of that. He said he expected a decision soon. Soon, obviously, was a lot longer than anticipated. Probably decided he wanted to take some visits, but he picks Penn State. And for the Nittany Lions, as we sit here and talk on November 13th, which is the early signing day for the class of 2025, all the makings of another top 10 class powered by Duke and now Marcus Blaze.
Where does he wrestle for fans that are catching up? I'm sure our diehard fans already know, but for people like me, where does he fit into the lineup?
Yeah, so he projects at 141 pounds at this point in time. At the college level, he is wrestled at 132, 138 in high school. I believe his most recent appearance at the World Team Trials, he was 61 kilograms, which is 134 pounds. So 141 looks like where he could go in college. But I would just say this. To me, anyway, it's become harder than ever to figure out where guys are definitely going to end up long term. Like, I just think about, and if you check back in with us tomorrow here at the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel and on the podcast feed and at bluewhiteillustrated.com, we're going to have a full wrestling show covering a lot, including Penn State Wrestling Media Day and probably some more on this commitment too. But like, if you told me 3 years ago that Levi Haynes would be wrestling at 174 pounds right now, or that Braden Davis would spend one season at 125 and then bump up to 133, and so on and so forth. You know, if you told me Alex Facundo would take an Olympic red shirt and drop from 165 to 157, I don't know how many of those things you would have foresaw coming back when, way back when. So right now, 141 looks like the spot for him. Where long-term, we'll have to wait and see as he continues to grow. But I think 141 makes a lot of sense. Penn State, of course, will lose Bo Bartlett after this season. The class of 2025 arrives next year. So we just got done doing the projections for this year's starting lineup, and those aren't complete yet. So we're not going to get into next year's starting lineup.
Right.
But obviously, another huge get for Penn State at a time when I think a lot of people were sort of questioning Penn State's ability to continue, to recruit at a level and in a world where David Taylor is now at Oklahoma State. And obviously you have Ladarian Lockett. He's the other top 3 guy that everyone kind of looks at. He is a Stillwater guy, Oklahoma State commit. Marcus Blaze, PJ Duke, Penn State guys. And again, we'll see how the portal changes things moving forward. We'll see what David Taylor can do, setting a foothold in the recruiting world moving forward. But for right now, Marcus Blaze, one of the top recruits in Ohio, Perrysburg, Ohio, 3-time state champ, is coming to Penn State. He announced that on Wednesday morning. And again, it should, I think, lock Penn State in for yet another top number 1 class when you look at the recruiting rankings when they're finalized for the class of 2025.
All right, of course, like you mentioned, you can check out more at bluewhiteillustrated.com. We'll have the wrestling show Thursday, 5 p.m. If you're watching this in the afternoon on Wednesday, we'll have more overall coverage. But is there anything left that you find interesting about this commitment? I know you mentioned information was slim and it felt like it could go any number of ways. What's the impact of this from the short-term future and all of those things from a extending the dynasty, I guess, is the question of how big of a commitment is this for Penn State?
Yeah, show rolls on, right? I mean, I think that's probably the easiest way to look at it. You look at everything Marcus Blaze has accomplished. He's going to come to Penn State with incredibly high expectations, quite possibly higher than Luke Lillidahl, who came to Penn State in the class of 2024, looks set to be the starter at 125 pounds. He comes with an enormously successful resume. I think I wrote yesterday that Marcus Blaze's list of accomplishments would not fit on a CVS receipt length piece of paper. Luke Littledahl is kind of the same way. So I think that, like Luke Littledahl this year, and we'll see him on the mat this weekend, I assume, when Penn State opens its dual meet season against Drexel. Marcus Blaze, in all, the way things look, he will come to Penn State with the same kind of hype and the same possibility of being a first-year guy in this Penn State lineup. A lot to figure out, of course, for Penn State in the middleweights and moving forward. But you can't obviously underestimate that the rich get richer here with Penn State landing Marcus Blaze and set sail on what looks to be, again, the number one recruiting class in the country. We'll confirm all that once the rankings come out. Everyone's signed, sealed, and delivered. But big win for Penn State in a recruitment that there was not a lot of news about, which is actually very Penn State, so it makes sense in the end. Penn State wrestling, indeed. But good win for Cale Sanderson and co., a recruitment that went the distance, and it works out for Penn State as it tends to do. They get who they want, and they get who they get. Doesn't always work out that way, but more often than not it does. And it's a good win for the Nittany Lions as they get ready for the 2024-2025 season.
Like we said, if you like wrestling, if you check out our football content, check out our wrestling show. I'm very excited. Our fastest growing show here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone checking this out. We'll be back with more of the BWI live show later this week. And of course, the wrestling show Thursday, chock full of Penn State content. I'm Thomas Frank Carr, Greg Pickle. As always, subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel so you don't miss any of it. I'll talk to you in a bit.